Okay. Fair Chanukah to everybody. Gevach to all. Gevach. Okay, we're in the middle of it's like a tzaddik aleph on the base, and again, I mention it from time to time just to reiterate. We're learning this year. Lino Nishmas Imi Marasi Esther Bashlem Salman Akoye Levi. Now we had a shaila. What happens with the yayin? In other words, if a person makes an adava of yayin, right? If the yayin accompanies a korban, clearly it goes down the safsel, goes into the basin. If he makes an adava just making an adava just of yayin, so that Shmuel said it goes on the fire. Shmuel said it goes on the fire, and Rabbi Akiva said it goes. Rabbi Akiva, we asked on Shmuel from Rabbi Akiva that smashme goes into the safsel, it goes into the basin, right? Okay, so this is where we're up to. We're up to. So we said the problem was, the problem was if you go ahead and spritz it on the fire, you're going to be over on you're going to put out. You're not allowed to put out the fire. So we suggested two terutzim. We suggested two terutzim, right? I think I don't know if we did suggest it yet. Maybe it's a kibbutz mitzvah. We said one is kibbutz mitzvah is differently, or maybe that that's where we're up to Tashma. So I'm sorry for being a little not straight. The Tashma, the Tana Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov, Klape shenosna toirim litroim. We did this yesterday. We're going over it again. We said Trumas Hadeshin. We said Yitoirim. I might think Yachol Yichbe Yitroim. I might say when you put out the coal until it becomes ash, and then you do the Trumas Hadeshin. Amid lo Yichbe. So you're not allowed to put it out. So even though you're doing the mitzvah of Trumas Hadeshin, even though you're doing the mitzvah of Trumas Hadeshin, you see that the teretz to say that you're permitted to put it out when you do a mitzvah is not true, because you see by Trumas Hadeshin that you're not allowed to put it out. So the Gemara suggested there's an answer to this, that what shiny hasam by Trumas Hadeshin, because you have an option. Efshad de Yosef and put it down and wait till it goes out. Masha'en came by the wine. You can't wait. You're going to put it on the flame. It's going to go ahead and extinguish the flame. Okay, extinguish the flame. Now we wanted to say that maybe perhaps that if you go ahead and put away mixas, you're putting away mixas is loisichbe is kiboy mixas leishme kiboy. So that we're up to over here now. We're starting from Tashma, 4 lines up on Sadik Aleph and base, 4 lines up. Again, we're asking on Shmuel. Shmuel said if a person makes an adav of wine, it goes on the fire. If a person makes an adav of wine, it goes on the fire. So, Tashma, Kedivrei Rabbi Akiva, L'sapolim. It goes to the basin. So there's your kasha right then and there. The kasha is from Rabbi Akiva, who says it goes in the basin. Shemen, Kedivrei Rabbi Tarfin, L'ishim. That goes on the fire. So that's one question. Va'od Tanya. Yayin nesech l'sapolim. Yayin that's menaseh goes to the sapolim, goes to the basin. Hayena ella leishim, or perhaps it goes to the fire, right? So Amit lo yichbeh. So he said he can't go to the fire. Now can't go to the fire. Now we really had he brought a pasuk, right? If you look earlier, we brought a pasuk. The pasuk said, "B'yayin takru l'nesech chatzei ahin isha reich nichach l'Hashem." So we have a pasuk saying it goes what? It goes to Ishim. He says a pasuk goes to Ishim. So l'chayre Shmuel has the backing of a pasuk. So when it says over here yayin l'sapolim ayin el l'ishim. Now why would you say it goes to Ishim? Because of the pasuk. Isha re'efech Hashem. And speaking about yayin nasech, right? So that's the reason I would say it goes to on mizbeach, on the fire, because the pasuk says so. So I might think you say that. Amit, therefore, it says lo yichbeh. You don't do that. Now, guys. So what does that mean? You're telling me you have a pasuk that says it goes on the fire, and in the same breath you're saying, "Heshakesh, one favor, just move over a little bit over here so I can see." Yeah, or Yankel. Okay, good. Then stay there. Yeah. It's not like standing. It's not like standing room only over here. And guys are hiding behind other guys. No, it says B'haya Necha Reis Merecha. You're supposed to. That's why I always call out eye contact. You don't learn as well unless you look. So guys, let's go over here. Like Shmuel said his din, and here's support of a pasuk. Yain l'naseh taker ikmel isharech with Hashem. Now we're asking from Rabbi Akiva. Says Rabbi Akiva, it goes what? It goes in the fight. It goes on the safsel. Right now, what's Rabbi Akiva going to do with that pasuk? Now he has no problem. He doesn't have dash in the pasuk, but the Rashi tells us that the reich nichoich Hashem is that it goes in the safsel. In other words, that would be as if it goes in the fire. As if it goes in the fire, that's in other words, that's to be to the pasuk. When it says isha reich nichoich, the key is that it's a reich nichoich. So you take a yayin, you put it down this basin, you put it down the holes. That's the reich nichoich. That's the way. You, and that would strengthen the kasha on Shmuel, who says it goes on the fire. Okay, so now you have a problem. You wanted to say that if it's a mitzvah, you want to say it's a mitzvah, you can put it on the fire. We see it's over here, it's a mitzvah, and it says lo yichbeh. You bring the pasuk, the kiyum of the pasuk rein nechayik is putting it down on the sapalim. So therefore, it's a kasha on Shmuel. And for the Gemara, it's not a problem. Hareb Yehuda, Hareb Shimon. One's Rabbi Yehuda, one's Reb Shimon. Now, what is Rabbi Yehuda Reb Shimon? This is the Veltz Machlokes by Hilchos Shabbos. Guys, Dav Hashem Miskaven. What's the classic case? You want to go ahead and take a bench, and you want to move it from point A to point B. So you want what the action you're doing. I want to go from A to B. I want that action. Good. However, I don't lift it up and I go ahead and make grooves in the dirt. It says Reb Shimon, you potter. Says Reb Shimon, Dav Shem Miskaven. I did not have in mind to make the grooves, even though plowing is an av malacha. I did not have that in mind. Dav Shem Miskaven. So Memela, when I put the wine on the fire, was I miskaven to put out the fire? No, I wasn't miskaven to put out the fire, right? I wasn't miskaven to put out the fire. So that Shmuel saying is din according to Rav Shimon, right? Rabbi Akiva, who said that there's an isur lo yichbeh, that goes like Rabbi Yehuda. Says Rabbi Yehuda, Dav Hashem miskaven yechayev. Memela, you're not able to go ahead, put the wine in the fire because you're putting out the fire. I am not miskaven. Dav Hashem miskaven is chayev. Shmuel said is din according to Reb Shimon. Shmuel said is din according to Reb Shimon. And therefore, Shmuel said, you make an adav of wine, you put it on the fire. It goes out. Now, here's the problem, fellas. Shmuel's made by sekresha. If something that is unavoidable, you cut off the head of a chicken, it's got to die. So memela doesn't automatically you're putting out the fire. So Rashi says it's not a sekresha because you can put it on a little bit at a time. And if you put it on a little bit at a time, then it's not going to be what? It's not going to be put out. Good.
I remember, didn't we have a thing whether they say Dav Shem Miskaven is only by Shabbos? Do you ever have that thing? So the Machlokes is only if by Hilchos Shabbos, or is it all over?
I don't know. I mean, here apparently over here you see not like that, right? Apparently over here you see like that. Okay. So. Okay, fellas. I have to explain now another issue. The Gemara is going to ask on Reb Shimon, but he's not going to ask from Dav Hashem Miskaven. He's going to ask from Malacha Shenet Tzricha Legufa. One of the more interesting common themes by Shabbos, but there's a tremendous disparity, is Dav Hashem Miskaven and Malacha Shenet Tzricha Legufa. Okay, so what would Malacha Shenet Tzricha Legufa mean? This means I'm doing a malacha, but I don't need the malacha. You have a dead body in your house. Okay? Now you're taking that dead body from point A to point B. The malacha would be if I need it at point B. I don't need it at point B. I want to get rid of it from point A. So that's a malacha shein tzricha legufa. It's a malacha that I don't need. The Gemara here is going to synonymously say the following. How can you tell me Reb Shimon holds like Shmuel holds like Reb Shimon? By what Malach Shein Tzrich Leguf Dav Hashem Miskaven? we're going to bring in a case where apparently he disagrees with Reb Shimon, and we're going to answer that's not Davar Shem Eskavin, that's Malacha Shem Tzrich Legufa. So again, okay, let's do the Gemara and then we'll go back and summarize. Okay, Fred the Gemara Kasha. Lememra de Shmuel Reb Shimon Svirale. You mean that Reb Shimon holds like Reb Shmuel, Shmuel holds like Reb Shimon, that if you're going to go ahead and take a little bit of the fire, it's Davar Shem Eskavin, and it's potter, right? Svirale va'omer Shmuel, says Shmuel, Machbin Gachel Shamateches. If you have a burning ember of metal in Rishus Harabim, and it's dangerous, Bishvil Shaloi Izuka Barabim. You're permitted on Shabbos to extinguish it, and that the rabbin should not get injured. Now, an ember of metal is Issa Rabbanan. The Issa of Mechaber, fellas, is to make charcoal. The Issa of Mechaber is to burn wood and make charcoal. That's the malacha. You're putting it out to make charcoal. That's the malacha. If it's metal, you're not making charcoal. So it's an Issa Rabbanan. Since an Issa Rabbanan, b'makam hezek b'rabim, you're permitted to go ahead and put it out. Amid Aleph, avaloi gachelis shalates. But what? But you can't put out a gachelis of eights. So now, guys, who's saying this memra? Shmuel. Shmuel's saying this memra, and he's saying you cannot extinguish what? A piece of wood. You cannot extinguish a piece of wood. Why? Because then you would be doing the malacha. So here's now that Havamina of the Gemara is that this is a Davar Shem Eskavin. Now Shmuel holds Davar Shem Eskavin by Gacheles is Muta, right? Over here he's saying Davar Shem Eskavin, right? Over here, but you want Miskavin to make a pecham. You Miskavin to go ahead and put out the fire, right? And he says that it's usher because it's eights. On that, the Gemara answers the questions. I feel nami. Even a gachel should be able to put out. You're not miskaven to make charcoal. What's your kavana? To put out the fire. On that, the Gemara answers that's not Davar Shem Miskaven, right? But Davar Shem Miskaven savala Reb Shimon. B'malacha shein tzricha legufa savala Reb Yehuda. Malacha shein tzricha savala Reb Yehuda. Guys, let's analyze this case. When he went ahead and he took wine and threw it on a fire, what did he want to do? He wanted to mekayim the mitzvah of Nisach Hayayin, right? He wanted to mekayim that mitzvah. Did he want to put out the fire? Okay, so that clearly is a Davar Shem Eskavin. Over here, when he put out the flame, did he want to put out the flame? Yes, he did, right? Guys, when he put out that burning, he wanted to do it, correct? When you want to do something, it's not Davar Shem Eskavin, that's a malacha. Now, it's not the malacha that you chayav for Shabbos. But the malacha Shvichel Gufa was to put it out to create charcoal. Over here, what are you doing? You're putting it out to save a rabbim. However, you are doing the malacha. You're doing similar to malacha. So your kasha is not kasha. By Davar Shem Eskavin, he holds like Rav Shimon. Memela, your kasha from Rabbi Akiva is this kind of kasha. Let's go over it for the people who came in late. We have a stira on Shmuel. Shmuel, not a stira. We have a kasha on Shmuel from Rabbi Akiva. Says Shmuel, if a person makes an adov of wine, where do you do with it? You put it on the fire. Says Rabbi Akiva, you put it down the chute, you put it down the holes. 1 second. He can't argue with a Tana. And for the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva, that's is going in the sheet as Rabbi Yehuda. And Shmuel said his sheet in Rav Shimon. Davar Shem Miskavin is mutter. Therefore, what? He's potter. Memela what? Okay, that's very good. Fred the Gemara, how can you say that he holds like Rav Shimon? I show you he doesn't hold like Rav Shimon. If you have a burning wood in Rishus Harabim, says Shmuel, you cannot put it out. And for the Gemara, it's not a tzushtel. One is the case of Davar Shem Miskavin. One is the case of Malacha Shein Tzrich Legufa. And what's the chilik? Davar Shem Miskavin, I didn't want the Malacha at all. But Malacha Shein Tzrich, I want the Malacha, but not for that purpose. Right? The Malacha ultimately is to make charcoal. I don't want to make charcoal. I want to save the Rabbim. And Memela, since it's a Malacha, he holds like Reb Yehuda. He disagrees with Shmuel. So that answered up Akasha. Okay. Vaita. Rav Huna, says Rav Huna, Nisachim shenitmu Nesachim that become tamei. Oiselem maracha b'fnei atzmon. In order to burn these nesachim, you make a maracha, a pyre by itself, v'sarfim, and you burn them in the azara. Mishum shenemar bekodesh be'esh tisaref. You should burn it bekodesh. Now, if you look at Rashi, Rashi says maracha ala ritzba ba'azara. Where are you making it? You're making it on the floor of the azara. V'lo yoytzi lechutz, and you don't take it outside. Mishum shenemar bekodesh be'esh tisaref. That you should burn it. Skip down. V'tamiyani, says Rashi, lama sarfin la'atzman. Why do you have to make a separate pyre? There was a place in the Azara where they would burn psulim. In other words, guys, it's not pshat that you didn't have a strategy to get rid of pasla meat. You had the mizbeach where you kind the mitzvah. You had a place of the Beis Hadeshen where they burn things. Freg Rashi, why was it necessary to go ahead and make a separate pyre maracha for the liquid you had existing there for basar? This basar took care of psulim. So you got that. You got yayin that's puzzle. Go put it in the basar puzzle, right? Don't put it on the mizbeach. It's in the azara. Why do you need a special maracha? Says Rashi, v'nir beinai shu davalach. Since it's a davalach, sarfun la'atzman. We want to burn it by itself. Shetei sreifason nikeres la'atzman. That the sreifa should be recognizable by itself. She'im hoya sarfin im basar. If you burn it with the basar, Amy Karim, it won't be recognizable. Shari Aim Behin Mamish. Very geschmack. Guys, if you would go ahead, Basa has tangibility. You're going to put it in the fire, you can see it burning in the fire. Once you put the liquid in the fire, you don't see the liquid, right? It's gone. But we want to go ahead and show you burning it. Mela, if you have a separate fire and you're only burning the liquid in the fire, it's recognizable you're taking liquid, putting it in the fire. Geschmack teretz from Rashi. The reason why we don't do it is because why? In the existing one is because you want to discern the difference between the basar and recognize what the liquid. Hanyanami hachi hadam v'hashemen v'hamenachos v'hanesachim. So fellas, you can't be goris menachos here. Shinitmu oislam arachim fleyatzman. Like Rashi, you can't be garis menachas because Rashi said you need a separate pyre for liquid, unless you say menachas over here. Nah, menachas over here that's minchas nesachim. So I saw there's a sefer. I have the sefer taka called Zevach Toida, and he's not garis menachas. He takes it out. Again, he takes it out because it's a solid, and we want a maracha only for liquid. He takes it out because we want a maracha for only for liquid and not for menacha. So he takes this out. So Amalei Shmuel Rav Chana Bagdator, Aisli Be'asara, bring me 10 people that'll publicize things. Ve'emlecha Kamayu, and I'll say in front of them, the Sachim Shenitmu, Oislem Marachim, Fnei Atzman B'Sarfan. The Sachim that become Tameh, you make a Maracha by itself, and Sarfan. And on that note, Hajj Lecha Kol Tadir, Hajj Lecha Kol Tadir, Hajj Lecha Kol Tadir, nice short Geshmak Perik. Okay, guys, let's do some chumash. You have a chumash baruch. Vayikra Vav. I sent it out to you. I sent it out for the people, but it's easy if you have a chumash. No, I have it over here. Yeah, Vayikra Vav pasuk Yud Zayin. Vayikra Vav pasuk Yud Zayin. Vayidaber Hashem Moshe Lemar. Daber al Aroin. Vel Banov Lemar. Zois Teiras Achatos. This is the Torah of the Chatos. Bimkoma she tishachet ha'oila tishachet achatos in the Tzafin. L'fnei Hashem kodesh kadashim hi. HaKoyin ha'machatos, the Koyin that does the avodah, yoichlena, he shall eat it. Where should he eat it? The chatos. B'makam kadosh teyachal. In a makam kadosh you should eat it. B'chatza oil moyed, in the chatza oil moyed. Kol asher yiga b'bsara. And this is where we have this from before. Anything that touches the meat, yikdash, it becomes kodesh. If a shlomim touches the chatas, it gets the kedusha of a chatas. If a shlomim discusses the chatas, it gets the kedusha of the chatas. I just lost it. Ukli keres, vashayiza. Here's the key pasuk that we need. Vashayiza midama ala beged, and it gets spritzed from her blood on a beged. Ashayiza leha techabes b'makom kadosh. you should wash it b'makom kadosh. So this is the halacha of kibus, and that's the discussion of the opening mission in this parak. Uklicheres asher tevushal ba, and the klicheres that you cook it in, you shaver, you break it because you can't kasher it. Then the clean chayshes bushala umoyrek ushtuta f'mayim, you go ahead and marika shtif and you kasher it. Kol zacha b'kohanim yochalosa kodesh kedoshim he v'chol hachatash sheyuvam midam eloid mayed l'chape b'kodesh le'siyachal b'shisaref. This is the psul of chatas bringing inside when machlokes early in the Masechta, right? Whether by chatas or by other machlokes or meya, that every carbon, and he said dafka chatas, because this is a pasuk we've a few psukim that we've gone and analyzed quite, but this is the pasuk that we need. Kol asher yiga b'bsara yigdash v'asher yizam midama ala beged. Now, be aware it says zois teres achatas, and so let's begin discussing the halacha of kibus, of washing a beged that chatas chatas juice gets in. Says Rashi, says the Gemara Mishnah. Dam chatas shenitis ala beged, the dam chatas that gets gespritzed on a garment, harizet toin kibus. It requires washing. In Beis Hamikdash, not only could you washing, it had to be washed in the Azara. It had to be washed in the Kodesh. Even though the pashas, the psukim that we discussed, is speaking about chatas that are eaten, shenemar b'makom kodesh te'achel. In other words, based upon the context of the psukim you just brought, I would think it's only speaking about chatas chitzonius, chatas that can be eaten. Not only those that are eaten, but even the chatas panimius of Yom Kippur or the dam of the Helam Davar and Koy Mashiach would also require what? Kibus. They would also require kibus. Shenemar, Toiras hachatos. Toiras echad l'chol chatos. So guys, we have a limud. Zois Toiras hachatos. What does Toiras teach me, fellas? What is Toiras teaching me? Not only chatos and ne'acholos, but even chatas panimius, it gets on a beged, you're going to have to go ahead and wash it. Good. Chatas psula, a chatas that's puzzle, ain't damaton kibus. Its dam does not require kibus. If dam that's puzzle, does not require kibus. Ben shahois l'shasa kosher, it doesn't make a difference if there was a time when it was muta. Ben shaloi hois l'shasa kosher. Okay, for the umpteenth time, ezi shaloi shasa kosher, shalana. One time it was fine, and then Lani left it out overnight. Ushinit ma, it was fine until it became tamei. Ushiyatsa, or it was fine until you took it out of the azara. The ezi shaloi hois l'shasa kosher. Then never at a time. Shenishkul chutzes manachus and karmei pigel. Ushikiblu psulim, or a puzzle was makabelit. All right, and now we have a girsa of zarku es dama. Rashi has problems with that girsa because even if a kasha does zrika, and once the zrika is done, there's no din kibus because the mitzvah was done already. So Rashi has problems with that. Okay.
If he's wearing it and he gets dirt on him and it goes out, that's yotze.
He has to what? Do you have to bring it in and wash it again?
Well, let's say this as he's doing shchita.
No. I don't think the dam that's absorbed in there would passel. I'm not sure if it would passel or not. Okay, let's. I just for my own purpose. I had a problem with dam becoming tamei. We have something called it sits. It sits as maratza on dam tamei. Guys, yes, it sits as maratza on right. So look at Taisvis. Shalanu shenit ma. Pirish, lon, dama. When it says lon, it doesn't mean the meat, it means it's dumb. V'nit ma is dama. V'im taimar. V'nit ma, my time aloi boy kibus. Hamidaraisa is zarig lechatchila. Why, if it becomes tame, does not require kibus? After all, lechatchila, you're able to go ahead and midaraisa and throw it. Kidarminan. Dam shenit ma, v'zarku, b'shoigeg hurtza. Al yedei it sits. V'yesh loimar. Listen to this. The Myri Kigain Shenishbrat sits. It sits broke. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it sits only works when Aaron's wearing it al metzach and when it's on his forehead. The Almanda Isle Shena Maratza only when it's on his forehead. Okay. So if it's broken, he's not wearing. There's two turutzim. It broke. In other words, he's giving it teretz. Yankel, it doesn't have to be practical. It has to be.
Not practical. How could he be?
He's not. No, again, the tzitz broke, right? At this point in time, at this time when you don't have it tzitz, so at that time the dam there's no maratza. That's all you have to know. Sorry, no. Okay, watch. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. No. I'll give you a very good example. At 9 a.m., the tzitz breaks, and they brought a char mechatas. They only were able to correct it till 10. Any dam from 9 to 10, you would have to go ahead. There would be no dinner kibbutz. Why? Because there was no tzitz to be maratza. That's all.
But the Kohen Gadol cannot be involved in the avodah without a tzitz.
A Kohen Gadol didn't do avoid only Yom Kippur.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, right. He went, enachinami. Michus megadim, 1,000%. Ein maladabe, 1,000%. He couldn't do the avodah. Sure. Okay. Now, what about the last part? Ushekiblu psulim mizorku es dama. So nice taisus here, guys. I like the taisus because you have the ideas to understand it. Once you have the ideas to understand this, taisus has geschmack. When you have to be taught something, then then it's like we're back in yeshiva. But when you have the ideas, then taisus has a geschmack to it. So watch. Ushekiblu psulim mizorku es dama. Perish b'kontris oy zarku or. So even what do you say? Or a puzzle does this rika. Even a kasha does this rika. You need right. You wouldn't need kibbutz because the mitzvah was done already. Kidam lekamon prat lezeh shekvar huza. Guys, ashayaza that you will spritz, not that huza was gespritzed already. Let's say it rebounded and it landed on your clothing, there's no din of kibbutz over there. So l'chayra, he's asking. Rashi said, even if a kasha does it, so what's the chiddush over here of a puzzle? Rashi says, guys, listen. If you do zrika, so who cares if the puzzle does zrika? Even if the kasha does zrika, there's no din of kibbutz because the mitzvah was done already by the kasha. So therefore you don't have. There's no chiddush in zarku psulim. Correct, guys? You with me? Yes, Nasan, you with me? Okay, so now watch. Listen to this teretz. I think it's Kishmak teretz. It's the rechla ashmi'inon b'psulin. There is a chiddush by telling me, by the psul, there's a chiddush by the psul telling me that if you do this rika, there is no din of kibbutz. L'meimah the dam dochihu. You're telling me that the dam is dochui. Ve'ena noisa b'mizra kosher is rika. V'leitema yachse kosher v'yisraich. The puzzle oisa shirayim. You know, guys, here's the chiddush like this. You know what you would have said? I would have said the following. I would have said that I would have a havamina. Since he was makabel, the dam was makabel al yedei apostle. And now a kosh is going to do this rika, correct? You might think that dam is out of the ballpark, right? You might think dachui, it's out of the ballpark, and that's the reason it's no good. You might think that the chiddush is to tell me once he goes ahead and is makabel it, the dam is dachui, and the stuff that remains in the kli is no good. No, we had early in the Masechta. We had early in the Masechta. If he goes ahead and is makabel the dam, let a kasha go ahead, take it and vizarik it, right? Le'inyan kibbutz, it's gone. That's the chiddush. Once he was makab. The chiddush is v'zarku. There's no zrika afterwards. Why? Because le'inyan kibbutz, it's nitcha. It's totally gone. That's the chiddush. That would be the chiddush over here. And that's what that Taisa says. There's a chiddush in the psul. The chiddush is that you say it's dachui, and if a kasha goes ahead and does it, it's still no good. The kasha goes ahead and does it, it's still no good.
The whole cover is gone.
Cover doesn't work. You don't have a zrika. Right. But we're speaking linear kibbutz now. Okay, geschmack. Dam chatas. The pasuk says dam chatas shenitas. Dam chatas is this the quote of the pasuk. It's the Mishnah, guys. The first 3 words of the Mishnah. Dam chatas shenitas. Now we said Torah. What does Torah teach me? That what even pnimius, even a dam a chatas pnimius, there would be din a kibbutz. V'i Torah achas l'chol chatois. If you're telling me Torah is the word Torah is chatas, it's marbe every single chatas. I feel chatas oif nami. Even chatas oif also there should be din of what? Of kibbutz. Al lama tanya, regarding that we learned, yachal te dam chatas oif toyin kibbutz tamalema zois. Let's state what zois. Take a look at the pasuk, guys. Right? What does it say? Pasuk aleph. Zois, guys, look at the pasuk. Zois Torah is chatas. Zois Torah is chatas. So Torah is marba everything. Pnimius. Zois tells me no, not everything. It's a miyut. when we Mamaya what? We're going to be Mamaya what? Chatas Oif. I'm leaving on the board for a second. Alom Natanya, Yachal Dam Chatas Oif Tain. Keep us Tamalim Zeis. Amresh Lakish, Mishum Bakapara, Amakra, the Pasuk says, Tishachet. Pasuk says, Zeis Teres Achatas B'Makam Asher Tishachet Oila. Good? B'Nishchatois Akasam Medaber. It's speaking about Nishchatois. Ve'ema B'Nechalois Akasam Medaber. In other words, so Reish Lakish is saying that what? It's speaking about Nishchatois and not Malikos. So once it's speaking about Nishchatois, why l'chayra would I need Zeis to tell me what? To be Mamayat? Why would I need Zeis to be Mamayat Chatas Oif? L'chayra, I can be Mamayat Chatas Oif from the fact that what? That it says Tishachet. It's speaking about what? It's speaking about Geshachtin. Okay? You hear the kasha, guys? Guys, you see in front of you? Fellas on the Zoom. It says Tishachet. So why do I need the word Zeus to tell me Chatas Oif is out? We know Chatas Oif, you do Malika, you do the nail in the back. So Memela, Tishachet is telling me that not Chatas Oif. As I read the Gemara. The Eimah Benech says, okay, now, it says, the Eimah, let's ask Benech Cholas Akosim Adaber, Mikidichsib B'Makim Kodesh Te'achel, Pasuk Yates, guys. HaKoyim HaMachdi Yasoi Yachlena B'Makim Kodesh, yet from the word Toiras, you're being marba, what? You're being marba pinimius. Guys, take a look at the pasuk. If you're not looking at the pasuk, it's not going to make a lot of sense. Take a look. I have the pasuk in front of you. It's Gishmak. Pasuk Aleph. Zois Toiras Achatas, b'makom tishichach oil tishichach achatas. Toiras tells me pinimius. It's also in the pasuk of Kibos. Zois tells me what? But not oif. Fregre Shlakish Tishachet tells me not Chatas Oif, right? On that, so if you're telling me that, it says in the next pasuk you test, B'Makam Asher B'Makam Kadosh Te'achel. So how can you tell me Toiras is Marba Pinimius? We know Chatas Pinimius are all burnt. So the word Te'achel should go ahead and tell you don't need Toiras to be Marba Chatas Pinimius. You know, if that's Marba Chatas Pinimius, I got a pasuk telling me what? No, right? So back in the Gemara. Rabbi Rachmana Toiras. The Toiras Marba Toiras. Hihachi afilu chatas loif nami. Miyat Rachmana Zois. So now we have a riboy, and now we have a miyat, right? We have the riboy of Toiras. We have the miyat of Zois. We opted to say the Zois is for chatas loif, and the riboy is for what? For chatas pinimius. Why did you go in that direction? I could have said the marba is chatas oif, and the zeis is to exclude chatas panemius, right? I could have gone that direction. Says the Gemara. Umar royas mistabre the chatas behema panemius havile rubuye. It makes more sense. It's more comparable a chatas panemius to a chatas chitzonius than an oilis oif to chatas chitzonius. Why? Shekaim behema ersht. It's a behema. Sveitens. Shkita, as opposed to what? Malika. Safain, as opposed to Malika, which is B'chol Makoim. Kabbalah's Kli, as opposed to Chatas Oif, there's no Kabbalah. B'keren, you need the horn for the Chatas, as opposed to what? By the Chatas Oif, it's on the bottom. The Etzba, V'chuda, you guys, the finger, you put down, V'chuda, and the side of the Mizbeach. The corner of the Mizbeach, V'ishim, and it goes on the fire. But Chatas Oif is eaten. So you have multiple reasons why you want to compare Chatas Panemius to Chatas Chitzonius Le'inyan Kibus rather than Chatas Oif. I says to my Adarabba, Chatas Oif Havilela Rebuye, we should be Marba Chatas Oif. Why? Shekin Chutz Kemaisa, Ve'achila Kemaisa. It's got two major ways it's comparable to a Chatas Chitzonius. A, they're both done on the outside, the Avoid is done on the outside in the Azara rather than inside of the Heichel. And Sveitens, they're both eaten, as opposed to Panemius, which is burnt. Why do we always answer in these situations? Right? Says the Gemara, Hanech Defishin. Nonetheless, if you're making a column of the comparisons, it's much more comparable to compare Chatas Panemius to Chatas Oif rather than Chatas Oif, Chatas Panemius to Chatas Kitsonia rather than Chatas Oif to Chatas Kitsonius. That's the, okay. Rabbi Yosef says, Omar Kra. The pasuk says Yochlena. Again, using this wonderful device called share. Pasuk Yates Hakoina Machtoy So Yochlena b'Makom Kadosh. Guys, Yochlena means eat it. Eat it. What does it mean? One or two? It means one. So what am I memayit then? The chatas oif. In other words, I'm not memayit from zois, guys. I don't need zois. I don't need zois. I have from Yochlena, right? So Yochlena lizu. This is eaten that you need, right? V'loy lacherois but chatas oif b'necholis. Miyar kosev. So when memayit b'necholis, the only what? Only one type of chatas chitzonius, and not what? And not a chatas oif. So chatas oif we're taking out of the ballpark. Fred the Gemara, if you have a meat from Yochlena to be mayit chatas oif, is what do I do with the zois? Yochlena tells me chatas oif is out. We initially thought zois takes out chatas oif, right? So what do you do now with the zois? Says the Gemara, ilav zois havamina Yochlena is urcha dekra. I might think Yochlena is just the way that pasuk speaking. Kamash malon Kamash malon that zois tells me that I touch up that while it's speaking about chatas oif. Rashi says urcha dekra shekol inyan beloshin zen nema tishached achatas b'bsara midama. In other words, it's all speaking that way. Kamash malon zois. No, it's very very. That's why I need the zois. Now, Rabbi says, what is Rabbi saying? Rashi says, let's see the Rashi. We'll see the Gemara. Rabbi Omar, Hai Pircha de Parachta, Dilma Panemius Nismatu, Mimiyuta de Zois. Maybe the word Zois is going to exclude Panemius, not Chatas Oif. The Ika Kibus be Panemius Ksiv. The Ika Pasav is Panemius. The Asher Yiza ben Isiyas Chasdam. Guys, look at the Pasuk. Pasuk Chaf. Kol Asher Yiga B'Psar Yikdash. Vasher Yiza midama ala beged. What does Yiza mean? Guys, what does Yiza mean? Spritz. Says Rabba, listen guys, listen to this. Says Rabba, that pasuk speaking about chatas panemius. Until now, the Ikka pasuk was chatas chitzonius, and we were learning panemius from chitzonius. Says Rabba, no! The Ikka pasuk is what? Is Asher Yiza is speaking about panemius, and we're learning chitzonius from panemius. So Mamel is not a kasha. So Rabbi Omar Kra, Asher Yiza, Ba'azor Sakos Medaberes. It's speaking about chatas panemius. And we're going to be marba, Torah is going to be marba chatas kitzonius le'inyan kibus. So it goes in the opposite direction. I v'hatnan, afa pishein akosim medaber el b'nei chalois. Even though it's only speaking in the inyan chalois, those are eaten. Chatas panemius is not eaten. How can you, Rabbi, tell me the parish is speaking about chatas panemius? It's screaming out chatas kitzonius. It's saying eaten. Panemius is not eaten. And for the Gemara, le'inyan meriko shtif, it's speaking about achila. It's speaking about chatas chitzonius. Aval inyan kibus asher yiza ksiv. Okay, guys. So take a look at the pasuk. Yeah, again, I'm really take a look at the pasuk. It's so geshmak. You have your chumash, great. Good, guys. Look over here. Pasuk Yates. Hakoyin amachatay so yochlena b'machem kodesh teyachol b'chatzoy mayid. So right. So what are we speaking about? We're speaking about things that are eaten. It says to eat. Now it says kol asher yiga b'bsara yigdash v'asher yiza midama, and you're telling me now asher yiza dama ala beged asher yiza ala techabes. You tell me pasuk Chaf is speaking about what? Chatas panemius. But pasuk Yutes is speaking about eating kavanis. Chaf aleph v'kli cheres asher tevushal boy yishaber v'im kli nechayishes b'shula umarik v'shutav b'mayim. So le'inya marika shlifa says Rabba, pasuk Chaf Yutes is going on le'inya marika shlifa. It's going on the inyan of Chav Beis, but the inyan of kibus in pasuk Chaf, that's speaking about chatas panemius. That's the way he's cutting and pasting. He's cutting and pasting the whole thing. Okay. So in this parsha, we have a few inyanim. We have the inyan of kibus, and we have the inyan of the kasha the kli marika shlifa. So Rabbi is cutting and pasting the following. According to Reish Lakish, how do we begin this? According to the first opinion, I don't know who said it. According to the first opinion, we're learning out everything from chatas pinimius, chitzonius. Zois teres chatas, right? Chatas means it's speaking about chatas chitzonius. Toiras is coming to include chatas pinimius. Zois is being memayet chatas ha'oif. Good. So now we know everything. Kibos, Marika, Shtifa is not only on Panemius. It's not. Well, it won't apply to Panemius because you don't need it and you don't put it in a kli. But speaking about Chatas Chitzonius and Panemius, then Kibos. According to Rabbi Yosef says in the word Yochlena, and Zeus teaches me that Yochlena means that eat it and not Chatas Oif. According to Rabbi, Pasik Yud Chaf is speaking. Dinyan Kibos is speaking about Chatas Panemius. And I'm learning Chitzonius from Panemius. Fred the Gemara, how can you tell me it's speaking about Panemius where it's crying out Yochlena, it's crying out eating it? That eating is going on the other halach. It's going on Pasuk Chafalev, it's going on the Shtifa and Marika, it's not going on the Kibbutz. That's the way Rabbi is learning. Guys, we're good? You see it in front of you, it makes a much bigger difference, right? When you see it in front of you, it's right there. Very good. Ihachi, if you, Rabbi, are correct, when the Brisa said it shouldn't say whether it's the ones that are eaten, which seems to be the main topic, and panemius that you learn from it. Again, it's not the Brisa. Look back in our Mishnah, guys. Look back in the Mishnah, at the Brisa, in the Mishnah. Dam chata shenitas ala beged how he said toin kibas af b'shein akasam daber el benechalois shnemar b'machim kodesh teyachal echad nechalois v'echad panemius tunas kibos shnemar teres chatas. Now, when it says Echa Ne'acholos, Ve'echa Pnimius, means Fashteitzach Ne'acholos, but even Pnimius, right? But according to you, Rabbi, it should say Echad Pnimius Ve'echad Chitzonius, because your main thing is what Pnimius. So the Mishnah is out of order. It should stress first Pnimius, because you're learning from Pnimius. Right? That's the kasha. Ihachi Pirish. Ihachi, if you source that you're learning from, is Chatas Pnimius, Echa Ne'acholos Ve'echa Pnimius. It shouldn't say first eat ones chatos that are eaten and chatos that are burnt. Echa pnimius ve'echa nechalos mi boy. And Gemara tani echa pnimius ve'echa nechalos enach nami. Fred Gemara ihachi chatos oif nami. When you tell me, guys, what does it say by chatos oif? The hiza. Guys, but chatos oif, guys, what do you do by chatos oif? One thing and you go like this, right? So you're being masa by that. So if your source Rabba is hazah, it says by Chatas Oif also Hazah. So Mamela Chatas Oif also there should be a din of Kibbutz. Because the Lashon, there's a mitzvah of Hazah by Chatas Oif. So there should be a din of Kibbutz by Chatas Oif. Says the Gemara, Mir Rachman Zois. We have a miut. No, not everything. Fred Gemara Yahachi Chitzaina Nami Loi. If you mamayet, let's be mamayet Chitzaina. Says Riba Rachman Tairas. Umaroyis. Why do you miss? So guys, now, according to Rabbah, the Torah is Marba Chitzonius. According to the first lashon, it was Marba Panemius. Okay, now Mistaber Chatas Behema Havilei Rebuye. Mistaber the Chatas Behema you should include. Shekaim Behema Shchitas Tzofman the Kabbalah Kli V'Keren V'Etzba V'Chuda V'Yishim Adarab Chatas Leif Havilei Lemem Shekaim Hazah Kemoischa. It has the din of Hazah like it. Guys, you know why? Because you're learning from Panemius. You can't say it's eaten. Guys, you can't say chutz and it's eaten because that was by Chitzonius. This is Panemius. Right? You hear Rabbi. You're comparing to a Panemius now. What's the comparison between the Chatas Leif and Panemius? Is Hazah. When we compared it to Chitzonius, you had the Mila, they're both outside and both eaten. But now you're comparing it to Panemius. Panemius is not eaten, it's not outside. So what's the din? It's the same thing. L'inyan what? L'inyan Hazah. Nonetheless, Hanach Nefishin. They know. Okay, so those are limudim. Bottom line is, guys, whether you learn it according to Rabbi, according to the first opinion, there is a din of kibbutz by chatas panemius as well as chatas kitzonius, or it's chatas kitzonius as well as chatas panemius as well as chatas kitzonius, and everyone says that chatas oif is out. The zois is taking out chatas oif. Okay, a few shilas by kibbutz, more than a few. Boy Rabavin, chatas oif shehichnis dama. Now, guys, what do we know about an oif? What do we know about chatas? Asher yuva dama. Guys, again, beautiful pasuk. The last pasuk. Chaf Gimel. V'chol chatas asher yuva midama el oil mayed l'chabe b'kodesh Lo siyachal beish tisarif. That's the psul of nichnas, right? Guys, that's the psul of nichnas. That's unique to chatas according to Rabbanan, according to Remeya, not. But it's this unique din. Now, what about the following case? Boy Rabavin, chatas oif. That there's no klisharis by chatas oif. Shehichnis dama bit savara bifnim. So between Malika and Hazah, you know what you did, fellas? You carried the bird inside. Between Malika and Hazah, you carried the bird inside. Mahu. Savara ki klisharis dame umifsel. Do we say the blood in the neck of the bird is the same as being in a kli? And just like if you put it in a kli and you bring it inside, you have the psul of nichnas. So too, this would passel. Aidilma, do we view it kitsavar behema dami? Or do we view it as the tsavar of behema? And as long as there wasn't a Kabbalah, then you're not, it's, guys, what happens if you shecht an animal and the animal goes inside? And then goes outside? There's no psul. Psul is only the Kabbalah, the blood. Guys, if you check the animal, it goes inside and comes outside, there's no psul of nichnas. It has to be in a kli. So the Gemara, the Lamda Shashailer is, do we view the neck of the bird as a kli or not? If you view it as a kli, you have psul of nichnas. If you don't view it as a kli, then you don't. Then you don't. That's the Gemara Shailer. Toshma, okay. Kitzava behema dama, because bedama amrachman of levi b'sara. So there's no lav of hichnis because it says from its blood and not its basar. Toshma, pirkasa, if the chatas slave jumps, v'nichbasa lifnim, and it goes inside, v'chazra, and it comes outside, kshera. That's because, and the havamina is because it did it itself. It jumped in, it jumped out. Ha'hichnisa, but if you brought it in, mashma psula. It's mashma, it's puzzle. So let's replace the shaila that the tsavar of the neck of the bird is like a klisharis. The reason it doesn't puzzle is because you didn't bring it in. Mashma, if you popped it out, if you brought it in, it wouldn't be good. So the charbing araya is puzzle. Freding will taimech gabi kodesh kedoshim diktoni by kodesh kedoshim by the animal pirkasa. It jumped v'yatzel ledorim. It jumped from the north to the south. The chazra, and it came back to the north. Kshera. Oh, it's a psula. Fellas, there's only psul of Eitzah is outside the Azara. There's no psul of north to south. So you see by the animal, when you said Pirkis meant north to south, it doesn't mean by Chatas Ha'oif that Pirkis meant from inside to the Azara. That's what the Gemara says. Diktani Pirkis of Yatz Ladar and Mechasuk Sheira, Hayatzia Psula. Are you going to say if you took it out to the south and you didn't bring right, it's going to passel it? Of course not. Elahayit Sasa, what it says when it jumps out? It's mashma lechutz. It's mashma, it jumps outside. It's trichale. To tell me if it jumps outside and comes back, it's okay. Hachanami yatsa lechutz. If it jumps outside, it's trichale. You have to tell me. In other words, it's not speaking about a case where it jumped in the azara at all. It's not shaila of guys. Guys, look at me. In the Havamina, when he says it jumped, the Havamina was it jumped inside the azara and now came out. And we said that what? That if you would bring it in, the reason why it's okay is because it jumped. But if you would bring it in, it's no good. So your riots, it's not speaking about that case. What's the riot? It's not speaking about the case because you give me the case of an animal, Kachei Kedoshim, that jumped from the north to the south. And then you're going to tell me it's puzzle? Of course not puzzle. What it means it jumped from inside the Azara to outside the Azara. So just like Behemoth went from inside to the Azara, outside the Azara, who had been by Chatas Oif was outside the Azara. Mamela has no shalit nichlis whatsoever because it never went inside. Geschmack. So there's no raya whatsoever. No dimya whatsoever. Boy Ravavin. Nishpach ala ritzpah. The yud is, by the sheet of the yud, they put in the word Chatas Oif. Chatas Oif she nishpach ala ritzpah. Now, fellas, let's remind ourselves about a behema. If it goes directly from the neck of the behema to the floor, can you use the blood to sprinkle? It goes again directly from the neck onto the floor. You can't use it because there's no Kabbalah. There's no Kabbalah. If you makal the kli and it fell on the floor, then you could. Okay. So now it falls from the neck of the animal, the bird, to the floor. V'asva, and now you gather it together. Mahu. The Torah does not require a klisharis. In other words, there's no Kabbalah by oif. So Mamela, just like this, no Kabbalah, so nothing went wrong. In other words, you pick it up and spitz it. Pick it up and spitz it. Dilma mifsal posel beirachmana klishares. In other words, the Torah says, no. You can't have a klishares. And therefore, kol shekain v'hilkach loisva posel. Guys, listen to alumnus. So this is like brisker Torah. Guys, listen to this. When you say the chatas oif, you don't use a klishares. Does it mean it's a kula, you don't need a klishares? Or it's a chumrah, we won't allow you to have a klishares? If you tell me that you don't need a klishares, so memela, when it falls on the floor, I can pick it up and use it. But if you're telling me, no, I'm makbid not to have a klishares, so therefore if it falls on the floor, that's worse than a klishares, right? Then you would not be able to. That's the Gemara Shaila. Amarava Tashma, I might think Yachal Yehi Dam Chatas Oif Toyin Kibus. I might think the Dam Chatas Oif needs Kibus. Tamalay Mezais. Good. V'isal Gedaitach. Mifsal Pasal Be Rachmana. If you're going to tell me the Torah passes a klishares, yeah? So guys, view the beged as a klishares. View the beged as a klishares. Typically, the ha'ifsalei ba'aver kli. Guys, look at me. This is Gvaldig. I can prove to you that the Torah is okay. You don't need a klishares. It's fine. Not that the makbid not to have a klishares. I'll tell you why. Chatas oif is no good. Meaning, I needed a pasuk to tell me that there's no din of kibbutz by chatas oif. If you're telling me there's a hakpada not to be in a klishares, guys, here's the beged. Here's the beged. Here's the bird. The dam is falling. When the dam is falling, we say aver of the klishares is klishares. So I'll view it as if in the klishares. Now, if you're telling me the Torah is makbid that it should be in the klishares, I know obviously that there's no din of kibbutz. Ella, when it says zois, to tell me there's no din of kibbutz be'chatas oif, it must be that the aver it doesn't need a klishares. It must be it's okay. The Torah is okay with it. Again, a very lumdisha raya. Let's see it again. We need a miyat for chatas oif that there's no din of kibbutz. Zois. Says the Gemara, I'll bring you a raya that and could we have a shaila? Is a pshat that you don't need a klisharis, or dafka we won't let you have a klisharis? I'll bring you a raya that it's okay not to have a klisharis. What's the raya? When you needed zois to go ahead and exclude a chatas oif from kibbutz, right? It must be without the zois. Chatas oif would need kibbutz. Okay. Now, if you're telling me that Kpadim is never in a klishares, guess what? Look what happens. Here's the blood. It's falling into the beged. The beged's a klishares, so it hit the aver klishares. Memela, if the Torah is makbid that it never goes into klishares, you're dead on arrival. So of course, I don't need a limud for it. Ella, when you need a limud, you see this is not true. You see the Torah is makbid. I don't care about klishares. That's the right. That's the right. Okay, says the Gemara. I'll tell you what you need those for. Amar Rav Huna Bereid Yeshua bid madbik b'kli b'tzavara. Here's what you did, guys. Look, here's the neck of the bird. Here's the neck of the bird. There never was the aver of a klishares. In that case, you're going to need size. Einachinami. If it's over here and it's falling into here, you don't need size. You know why? Because the Torah is makbid not to be in a klishares. You know what needs size for? When it's not like that. When it's like this. When it's davuk. In that case, you need size.